I just finished watching the movie Hallow Road. I just finished it now using, my bingo card, and I also took notes while I was watching. There's a lot to get into with this movie. It's a psychological thriller. That's how it's marketed, although I think it's more of a drama. I guess you can also call it a psychological thriller. The plot summary of the movie reads: two parents enter a race against time when they receive a distressing late night phone call from their daughter after she caused a tragic car accident. This movie stars Rosamund Pike as the character of Maddie and Matthew Rhys as the character of Frank. They are the two major actors. The movie is an hour 20 minutes. Those two actors take up maybe an hour 18 of that. Like, they take up most of the movie. Like, there is only one scene when it's more than two of them in the scene. If you do not know who I am, my name is VDK and I make movie bingo cards which you can find available on my Substack, vdkfilmclub.substack.com. In this video, I'll be doing a review and sit down slash talk slash discussion about Hallow Road. I'll be talking non-spoilers and then spoilers. So I'll just get right into it, non-spoilers first. Tonally, this movie is very moody. It's brooding, like it's shot at night, and so it's majorly in the dark. Most of this movie is taking place in the dark. It has a very brooding feel, a very moody feel, a very almost melancholic feel to it. The acting in this movie is really good. Because it's just two people for the majority of the movie, Rosamund and Matthew, they really need to commit. They really need to show out because the movie really needs them to. And both of them really, really do commit to these roles and they give it their all. The directing is also really good, and I have to give major props to the director because to keep a movie like this interesting or refreshing for the length of time, this movie, as I said, is an hour 20 minutes, and a lot of this movie is just two people in the car. He had to get very creative about different shots. There's a moment in this movie, without giving spoilers, where somebody is giving a monologue off screen. And what do you do in that kind of scene as an actor? Like, what do you do when somebody is off screen, like on the phone, giving a whole monologue, and you have to just be in the scene? And also, as a director, how do you shoot that without you just keeping the camera on the actor's face? They got very creative. The director did a very good job of, trying to do different things, like different shots of eyes, different close-ups, different pans, different ways to just keep it interesting because this could get very boring very quickly, but the movie doesn't. Also, sound-wise, the movie works. There are moments that are meant to be loud and are meant to really jump at you, and because of how quiet a lot of the movie is, those moments really jump out and they really stand out. The sound adds a level of tension to this movie in a good way. And the way it's done, the dialogue, the sound quality is just good. Like the ticking of the car when you're, the trafficator, like all those things really work. Everything works well in this movie, sound wise too, to keep the moody feel. This something is like this pen. You feel kind of on edge for a lot of this movie, which is the intention. And the sound really doesn't detract from that. It really enhances it. As far as the characters go, both Rosamund and Matthew really brought their characters to life. The characters of Maddie, Frank, Alice, and even a person that's just named Jacob, we really do get a full sense of who these people are. Like they feel like fully realized people, fully realized characters. So the characterization was really good in this movie as well. Who is this movie for? I would say go into it if you're ready to have a calm watching experience. In terms of don't expect a lot of flashes and big bangs. It's marketed as a psychological thriller, but heavy on psychological more so than thriller. Like it's more a drama in my mind than I would even say a psychological thriller. Thriller makes it sound too. It is a psychological thriller, yes, but just know it's a very, you need to be in a certain kind of mood. Like you need to be relaxed. You can't watch this, I would say, but like with a group of friends that just like put something on and like in that kind of high spirit, they will feel like this movie is very boring and very slow. Not that kind of mood. This is the kind of movie for when you are calm and you are just looking for something you can really sink your teeth into. Then I would recommend this movie for you because it's a really good psychological thriller. It just needs your attention. Finally, would I recommend this movie? I absolutely would. As I said, just watch it under the right conditions. Otherwise, you would feel like this movie is very slow and oh my God, I need something more to happen. I need this. It's not that kind of movie. It's a movie that you really need to sink your teeth into, take your time with, and you would absolutely enjoy it. I would recommend this movie. I would. Those are all my points for the non-spoiler part of this video. Now, let's get into spoilers. As always, I will be using my bingo card and my note. Now, let's get into spoilers. On my bingo card, there's a square that says broken glass is seen on the floor. And I want to talk about the opening scene of this movie. When the movie opens, with the table, the shattered glass on the floor, you can tell that, okay, something happened here. There was some kind of argument, there was something bad that had happened, and that already sets us off on this journey for the movie we're about to witness. Ultimately, we learned that the fight was about Maddie and Frank's 18-year-old daughter, Alice, telling them that she has gotten pregnant for a boy named Jacob, who they do not approve of. Frank doesn't approve of Jacob, and you can really tell because he speaks about him with nothing kind to say. And Maddie feels like she'll be making a very big mistake and that like raising a child is no joke, which it's not. So they do not receive this news with excitement, and that then drives Alice to leave the house in an angry state. I mean, while I was watching the movie, I kept on thinking, like, what would I do too if I found myself in a situation like this? Like, if my child, 18 years old, comes up to me and says they've gotten pregnant for a boy that I do not approve of, like, how do I handle that? And also, people who run out during arguments, it's such a dramatic thing. I know I don't think I ever have actually in my life. Maybe when I was much, much younger. But like that kind of like running off, kind of, I'm just going to leave, I'm going to go, it's very hard to also know what to do in that kind of situation because as a parent, you are also upset. So there's a certain level of like, let them just go. Like if she wants to leave, let her leave. But there's also, of course, the this is still your child and you don't want them just off in the middle of the night. And to speak about the movie as a whole, I believe that this is one of the things that they feel very guilty about. And you kind of see this throughout this movie that like they are kind of regretting maybe how they said it, but they also still stand by what they said because they were only giving their thoughts because they genuinely care for their child. But it's this middle, like how do you blend that? And I do not know, like how would you handle something like this if your 18-year-old daughter comes up to you and tells you that she's gotten pregnant for a man you don't approve of? What do you do and how do you handle a situation like that? It's a very good question. The next bingo square I want to talk about is phone shows Alice on the screen. And I want to talk about the character of Alice and just children. What the voiceover woman, the strange parent, says about Alice is so true, and about children is so true. And actually, what even Maddie says about Alice is so true. Of she always calls when she's in need. And there's also something very frustrating about giving a child the tools on giving a child all the tools that they need to handle their life situations. But then when said life situations come about, they still call you and act like you haven't given them the tools. And they call also wanting you to come and fix the situation that you have already provided them the tools so that they can fix it on their own. This is very evident with like Maddie telling Alice, I've already taught you how to do CPR. You already know how these things go. Call the police. Do these things. This is a woman who works in this field, who works as a paramedic, and still with all the training that Maddie gave Alice, Alice is still calling Maddie for Maddie to come and fix the situation up herself, even though all the tools that Alice would need to have fixed that were already given to her by Maddie. It's very interesting just how that happens, where how a child just comes and you've done all these things, but they still want you to physically show up and fix their problems. But then when you have something to say sometimes as a parent, the child doesn't want to listen. It's a very interesting dichotomy of children want to be very independent when they want to be independent, but then they need you when they need you. Also, the phone call with Alice really showed the differences with how Frank and Maddie are parenting Alice. And it also lends itself to a conversation of what kind of parenting style do you think works best? Do you think, and that is, I guess, a very big question too that permeates this movie. Do you coddle or do you allow your children to face the consequences of their actions? It's the very big question in this movie. And I'm very curious to know your thoughts. I lean more towards Maddie, funny enough. Like, I'm very much a Maddie leaning person where I think you need to face the consequences of your actions. You need to know that actions result in reactions. Things lead to consequences. And what she says, I believe, and I agree with a lot of what Maddie said in this movie of if you do not get sometimes the punishment that you think you are owed, or you feel like you're getting away with things in this world, sometimes the lesson is not learned. Or you've just learned after doing something bad, getting away with it. It's just that you can get away with bad situations when they happen. Sometimes that's all people get from bad situations. There are people who have gone through trauma that I know personally and that I've read about that will tell you that when I didn't get caught it didn't teach me the lesson. I didn't even think of it as like, oh, great, I wasn't caught. Now I know. It was almost like I felt invincible. I now felt this like, oh, I did this thing and got away with it. Maybe I can do it again. So I think there is such a place for consequences in this world. There's a place for doing the time for the crime. And again, as a parent, of course, you don't want to like turn your child in, or you want to shield them from these dark sides of the world, or when they've made a mistake, you want to like come and just sweep in and take it all away and take the brunt of it. Because in this movie, Frank is ready to sacrifice his own life. He's ready to put his own self behind the wheel to police and say that he was the one responsible for hitting this girl, even when he didn't hit the girl. That just goes to show you that it's very different parenting styles. Because him doing that, I really do think that if a parent does that, they take the fall for their child, that child maybe that child might regret that for the rest of their life too, and they will still have to live with the guilt that their actions put their own parents in jail. So it's a very weird middle, and it's a very interesting thing to navigate and to think about. Like, what do you do in a situation like this, and what is the best approach to go? Do you go let the child do the time, let the child do, take pay their penance for what they've done, or do you say let's go do this child and hopefully they've learned their lesson? Another box that I took on my bingo card was that's a good line. And there's a quote that I heard in the movie and I said, oh, yeah, that's a good line. Let me write that down. The line is said by the strange parent who says to the parents of Alice, no parent wants to be their child's monster. Nobody wants to tell them no. And then they grow up and it's too late. Again, basically just a continuation of what I was saying before, that no parent wants to be the monster. No parent really wants to be the hard disciplinarian, but sometimes it's so needed. I watch a lot of true crime, and I know the number of times when people, loved ones, parents, people sometimes look back at how a child was growing and all the things that they let them get away with. And there's usually this regret of like, I wish I had curbed it earlier. I wish I had actually said something then. I wish I had actually done. Because sometimes you just go, oh, they're a child, let them go, or they don't know better, let them go. But every single time you let stuff like that skate on by, again, sometimes all it just does is reinforce to the person that they can get away with bad things. The next square on my bingo card I want to talk about is a confrontation in the woods. And this is about the mystery woman caller and who do you think she is and what do you think, she is. Of course, this ties very closely to the end of the movie, so I think we can just talk about them both. Who do we think the strange parents were? They are credited as the strange parents, the people on the phone, the other um, couple that sees Alice that we do not see on screen. Who do you think they are? So when I finished watching it, I was like, what? Because immediately I was like, when I was watching it though, because there was a part in the movie where they said that Hollow Road has kind of become known for folklore and like there's a lot of stories about this place, and there's this feeling of maybe something supernatural is kind of happening towards the end of the movie, especially when they're like driving through the woods, and it's almost seeming like the person that is speaking is a generational thing, because she's like, the way I did it for you, I'm going to do this for your daughter the way I did it for the one that came before her, and then the one that came before her. So I thought, is this entity on the phone a personification of discipline? I was like, is this just discipline personified? Because it's like, oh, you parents don't have what it takes to do this thing, so I will straighten her out. And so it's like, is it just a personification of discipline? Like, oh, if you're not going to give your daughter the consequences, let me give her the consequences. I was like, oh, is that what this is? That was my first thought. Then the second way of thinking about it too is to really take it very literally and go, Alice is actually still on the phone, and those people have actually taken her away. But the people that have taken her away are witches that have contacted the body of this other girl to now look like Alice. That's another way of taking it. There's a third way of looking at this in a very like maybe all of this was just in their heads and it's all just like a manifestation of shock. That's what I wrote. A manifestation of shock and parents are in denial because of it, they are making things up. Maybe it was that, you know, she actually did get hit like a long time ago because when the movie first starts, we already see the glass broken on the floor, which again, now I'm like, the movie says that was from the fight, but maybe Rosamund had actually gotten a call that their daughter was found at this Hallow Road, and so in that shock, maybe she dropped her phone. That could be a way of looking at it. I don't know, but I think that's kind of far fetched. I think the theory that I'm kind of working with the most now is maybe the one that this is like perhaps I don't know, because if it's supernatural and then the other strange parent is actually disciplined, then that means Alice's body, I mean, Alice is dead. We know that at least from the eyes of other people. Alice is dead. Like, so from the police investigator, if we are just going with our own eyes and the reality of what this film is telling us, Alice is dead. The parents are having a hard time accepting that reality. So Alice is dead. But then, was a witch responsible for kidnapping Alice and then contorting the face of this body to look like Alice is dead? Was is Alice really dead? And then the one that took her just is a supernatural being like discipline or something that's been here from time? Did Alice die way before the call even comes at the beginning? We don't know. And these are all the questions. And the good thing about this movie and what is kind of like smart about it is that if you look at it from all these different lenses, it can kind of make sense. And that's how you know that, yeah, the mind of masterminds. Masterminds. Overall, this was a very good movie to me. I think it was very well done for a very simple premise, just two people in a car going to go and see their daughter who has been in a car crash. The movie really became much bigger and it really touched on a lot of things and carried a lot of themes. I thought it was a fantastic movie, especially now that I even think about it more. In talking about it now after the fact and realizing just how clever and how well done this movie is. Like, they really knocked it out of the park. Well, that was Hallow Road. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you've enjoyed watching this video. For this bingo card and all other future bingo cards that I make, you can find them on vdkfilmclub.substack.com. Until next time, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye.